As I said in my previous video, I use different routines in my 3 months of aim training in order to get better aim in Valorant. And one of the routines that I grew fond of and use almost every night was the Woohoojin x Voltaic Valorant routine in aim labs. Before going into what I think are the best things about the routine has to offer and also what it lacks, let's first introduce the creators of this routine. We have Woohoojin, who is a Radiant Valorant coach, which now has 270,000 subscribers as of the making of this video. As evidenced by the views and sub that he is getting, his coaching, guidance, and view of the game are effective, and have helped multiple players to get to the rank that they want. We also have the Voltaic community as a collaborator with the routine. The Voltaic community is composed of individuals focused on perfecting and finding whatever it is to unravel with aim. The Voltaic community has helped multiple pros and boasts a ton of routines for different games, with Valorant included. These routines have also helped a lot of players to get their desired rank in their own respective games. Even I followed most of their routines and benchmarks in the past. With that, let's look deeper into what the routine has to offer. The routine is actually divided into two difficulties with the novice and intermediate routines. The novice routine is catered towards platinum and below ranked players, while the intermediate routine is for diamond and above ranked players. Unfortunately, I haven't tried the novice routine, but looking at it as an experienced player of aim trainers, it is good for beginners or someone who is looking into starting with the aim training. Nonetheless, the intermediate routine that I used was composed of 2 tracking tasks, 4 static tasks, and 2 more dynamic tasks, with an overall 8 tasks in total, set to play at a repetition of 3. The routine also has 2 minutes of rest time after finishing 2 tasks, all totaling in a duration of 30 minutes. Looking deeply into each of the tasks in the intermediate routine and how they help with your Valorant aim, we first have VT x Woohoojin Smooth Strafe Sphere, which is a predominantly smooth tracking task with elements of a reactive tracking task. This scenario helps with, first and foremost, smoothing out the inconsistencies in your aim, as I believe that smooth tracking is the foundation of the smooth and calm aim that every player wants. This scenario is mostly seen in-game with tracking AD strafing targets and tracking each corner when you are clearing angles. Lastly, this task is a good warm-up before starting the more intensive parts of the routine. The second task is the VT Adjust Track Valorant, which is a reactive tracking task. Reactive tracking scenarios are extremely underrated for tactical FPS like Valorant, because if done correctly, this type of task massively helps with micro corrections and micro adjustment. That is the type of aim you will see most of the time in-game. This task also has an element of flicking or target acquisition, as the target teleports or blinks away after seconds of shooting it, leading into a better transition as you move on to the static task in the routine, all of which require flicking. Next we have is the VT 3 targets wide. This task works on large angle flicks, good for when you are caught off guard in-game or when you need to flick from angle to angle as you clear the map and is uncertain with the position of the enemies. This task works on the speed of the flick while still having elements of a micro adjustment routine, as most of the time you need to micro adjust when doing wide angle flicks. Next we have is the VT Berry TS Static Small, which is one of my favorite tasks in this routine, as the size of the target is just right for Valorant practice, all of which while keeping mostly a horizontally leveled plane unlike the previous task. The smaller targets in the task again focuses on micro adjustment after the initial flick, making me love this task. The next task is also one of my favorite, which is VT x Woohoojin 5 Sphere Hipfire Small. I am familiar with this task as this is one of my favorite and top scoring scenario in Kovacs. This task works on the microflicks that makes up close to 70 to 80% of the gunfights you see in Valorant. This task also smooths out the microflicks and makes you calmer with less overflicks and underflicks as you progress through the task. Overall, this task is the most important task in the routine. Next is VT 1 wall 2 targets small flicks Valorant, which has 2 small targets that you need to flick onto. This routine again works on medium to wide angle flicks as the targets are most of the time far away from each other, and the micro correction that you will do after the initial flick. The only caveat that I have for this task is the amount of vertical flicks I had to do, which are not that common in Valorant, but still doesn't hurt to practice. I said that because I know there are variants of this task in Kovacs that sets the spawn of the targets to be within a close horizontal plane, which I think is perfect for Valorant. Next is the VT Dynamic Reflex Micro, which is the hardest task in this routine, as you need to click spawning targets that are moving. Although this is the most difficult task, this also massively helps Valorant aim, especially with the times that you hold an angle and an enemy swings out of the corner. I am also a big fan of reflex tasks as they practice pure speed of the flick, which is the type of flick you will need in-game as a TTK for tactical FPS games like Valorant is small, and you need to be faster than your enemies. The last task in the intermediate routine is the VTX Woohoojin Speed Switch Click, which closely resembles Vox Target Click in Kovacs, if anyone is familiar with that scenario. This task works on speed against moving targets, anticipating movement as most of the time you will hit the targets by placing your crosshair slightly in front of them, and working on target switching, which again focuses on the initial flick and the micro corrections you will do. This task is also one of my favorite, and I surprisingly get top 3 to top 10 weekly, even though my weakness is dynamic tasks. We now move on to what I think about the routine and how good it really is for Valorant players looking to develop their aim. We first start with a good thing about the routine. The first good thing that I found was the separation of the routine into 2 difficulties, one for beginners to slightly experienced players, and the other to veterans in the aim training and rank scene. It is good that it is structured so that you will not play hard scenarios when you are just starting to aim train, as like any physical activity, starting with difficult tasks are detrimental and may even form bad habits with your aim. This may also lead you to getting bored of aim training as you can't hit your shots, leading to tilt. Also, if you have grown your aim to levels that are now above being novice, it is good that a harder routine is also present as upping the difficulty once you have a good base and a solid foundation of your aim leads to a better and an exponential growth of your aiming capabilities. Again, just like training with weights or any physical sport, you experience growth once you increase the reps of workouts and the difficulty of the task. Second good thing that I found with the routine is the inclusion of resting time. Multiple studies and anecdotal evidences have shown that rest in between physical exercises have massive benefits and should be done always. As aiming is also a physical practice, it should be noted that we should always rest our hands and arms after tiring, intense, and focused sessions in order for the muscles to relax and keep informed, while retaining the information about the task that you did. Resting between the tasks also allowed me to enjoy and keep on playing the routine as opposed to doing it all in one sitting, and not keeping my arms rested caused pain in my hands and arms after a few minutes of practicing. The third good thing about the routine is with the task itself. In the intermediate routine, the tasks aren't difficult that it is impossible to track or shoot the targets. What I hated the most about third-party aim trainers were tasks that seemed impossible to practice on because of their difficulty, like quick moving circles, extremely small dots, and anything in between. It made aim training boring and tilting for me. That is why when I found the Woohoojin X Voltaic Valorant routine, to have calm yet still challenging tasks, it made me want to use the routine more as I enjoyed each task. What I love the most are the dynamic tasks which are not hard to hit while still being challenging, unlike other routines which have small and shaky targets that you wouldn't see in-game. Now we move on to what I think the routine lacks. The first is the lack of in-game tasks within the practice range or deathmatch. I found this to be odd because other Voltaic routines used to incorporate things that you can do and should do in-game within the range or DMs. as they all agreed that aim trainers are only supplementary to aim training within the game itself. Nonetheless, this isn't much of a negative thing, as Woohoojin is also known to have multiple routines within the range and DMs, but still it may be good to incorporate some in the routine. The second thing that it lacks is a harder difficulty routine above the intermediate routine. Just like the first one, this isn't a bad thing of itself. Even I said that challenging yet effective tasks are the best. But still, sometimes you get better in the task and you want to challenge yourself more in order to get better aim in Valorant. Again, I think this would be easy for the Voltaic community to incorporate, as they are known to boast higher difficulty routines with the Voltaic Daily Improvement method and even the Voltaic benchmarks. With all of that, what would I rate the Woohoojin x Voltaic Valorant routine out of 10? With 10 being the best and 1 being the worst routine. I'd say that I will rate this routine a solid 9 out of 10, as I feel like this is perfect for the average Valorant player who wouldn't want to aim train to get better at aim labs, but use it in order to get better at Valorant itself. The routine creates a perfect balance within the difficulty of the routines and the task itself, while still keeping the health of the players in mind. But of course, it still lacks some things like in-game task and a more difficult routine, but these two things should not be a problem for the average Valorant player. That is why I am giving the routine a solid and an almost perfect score of 9 out of 10. I would definitely recommend it to anyone looking to improve their aim in Valorant. And that wraps it up for my review of the Woohoojin x Voltaic Valorant routine. If you have any experience regarding this routine, with how it helped you or has it also been effective for you, do not forget to share them in the comment section below. If you want to know more about Valorant, like the best agents for each role in the current meta of the game, you can watch my other videos in my channel. Lastly, if you enjoyed this content and want more like this, consider dropping a like and a subscribe. That will be all. AC out.